Super Bowl 60 week is officially here. We predict the performances for quarterbacks Drake Maye and Sam Darnold and discuss the best passing player props on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Fantasy Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcasting network. I am one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. All right, today we are going to get into the Super Bowl and how we think Drake Maye and Sam Darnold will perform in this big game and hit on all of the passing props for the Super Bowl on FanDuel and tell you which ones we take and which we would stay away from. But first, let's go through some of the latest NFL news. We got the official hirings of Mike LaFleur going to the Cardinals as their new head coach. And then the news that Klint Kubiak will be the Raiders' new head coach. It will not be official till after the Super Bowl, but we do have news that is pretty much all but official. So we have all of the head coaching spots now full. And I think both of these hires are really great for these teams. I think the biggest question when it comes to the Cardinals is, will Mike LaFleur keep Kyler Murray, right? And if not, I don't know what his other options are.
Yeah, it was good for the Raiders to get Klint Kubiak because they know exactly what their quarterback plan is going to be. And that's a big difference between these two teams. And LaFleur and Kubiak were kind of the last guys on the board as offensive coaches to get hired for a reason. I think there was a little bit of competition here for these teams. But LaFleur definitely has a bigger question. He needs to figure out, again, is Kyler Murray his quarterback? And then if he's not, what is their plan at quarterback, right? I mean, they do have a high pick, but the quarterback class really drops off here. Ty Simpson is the next one that you would consider the first round, but I think where the Cardinals pick is just a little too early. So do they trade up and do they feel that strongly about Ty Simpson? I mean, I don't know if I would do that. So then you have to look, is Jacoby Brissett under contract for one more year? Is any answer? Do we look elsewhere? Who would fit in the system? We know anybody that has Rams adjacent work would work. Maybe a Kirk Cousins now that he's available. Would they go and consider him as a guy that they could bridge into this offense that could do well in it as a pocket passer? Do they go and look just completely different and just go bridge quarterback and go that direction like a Mac Jones who could handle things in this offense? So there's different ways that they could explore, but that's going to be the biggest question. Then you have to consider the age of James Conner and the injury attrition. The offensive line needs a little bit of extra work here to improve. You got to figure out what you're going to do with Marvin Harrison Jr. Is he just headed to it being a bust? Can he be what Puka Nacua was for before in the Rams, or do they have to move on and look at Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, move on with those guys as the key targets of this offense? So there's a lot going on with the Cardinals. We kind of talked about a little bit when it was projected that this could happen here. I think it's a very good hire. The question is what they do with the personnel, where with the Raiders, I have little doubt that Klint Kubiak, there's a few more things they got to do personnel-wise, but they are set up in a little bit ahead of the curve now because of that number one pick than the Cardinals are.
Yeah, with Mike LaFleur and Kyler Murray, it'll be interesting because, I mean, it's going to come down, I think, to the Kyler Murray side. Is he willing to stay there? Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Cardinals to want to move on that bad. I mean, they would have $54 million in dead cap space this year if they move on from him. If they give him one more year, it's only $7 million in dead cap in 2027 if he doesn't work out, right? So I say try to talk him into staying one more year. There's not really better options out there. I mean, Kyler Murray is the best option by far if he was available on the market right now. So I say Mike LaFleur, try to make Kyler Murray happy. And I think that'd be your best chance of success in year one as a head coach. And with Klint Kubiak, the biggest question will be, like you mentioned, like he's set up for success with the number one overall pick. He has some offensive weapons, right? And he's going to have time to develop this team. But we don't actually know if Kubiak can develop a young quarterback. We know his system was great with the Seahawks. He worked great with Sam Darnold. But I mean, the quarterbacks he's worked with, Kirk Cousins with Minnesota. So after he's been in the league a while, Russell Wilson with Denver, Derek Carr in his final year in the NFL, half a season with Spencer Rattler. That wasn't good, but Spencer Rattler's just not a very good quarterback. And then Darnold this year, the one young quarterback we have seen Kubiak work with is Brock Purdy in 2023. Purdy had a great year under Kubiak, but we know that's really Kyle Shanahan's offense. So lots to see here with Kubiak if he can, be not just a good play caller, but a good head coach. And then if he can develop a young quarterback, and we'll see if Tom Brady, even likes Mendoza enough to take him number one overall, because there are some rumors out there that maybe that wouldn't be the case. Now, the Ravens figured out their new OC. They're hiring Declan Doyle. Sorry if I messed up his name. He worked under Ben Johnson as technically OC with the Bears in 2025, but obviously not the play caller. I think it's a fine hire. It's interesting that they decided not to go Cliff Kingsbury and went this route with Doyle.
Yeah, when you look at this situation, everyone was trying to get the younger coordinators in, and also the play callers, right? Doyle didn't call the plays Ben Johnson did in Chicago. Doyle was previously in Denver, so there was some of that Denver kind of trade-off where we saw those guys kind of spread around the league a little bit. Yeah, with Kubiak, there's a little bit of that. Is he like Dave Canales? Is he the quarterback veteran whisperer, like the young veterans and the guys come in? Or is he going to be able to help a rookie quarterback such as Mendoza? We'll see. I think the Raiders are smoke screening a little bit. If they pass on Mendoza, there's going to be a lot of other teams, including the Jets, that would be very happy if they made that decision. Now, with the Ravens, this is an okay move, but I don't think it's necessarily the best here for Lamar Jackson. I know Caleb Williams had some running elements there in the Bears offense with Johnson and Doyle, but we'll see. Maybe he's innovative enough where he can adjust a little bit to what Lamar Jackson's skill set is, assuming that he's still going to be there. But again, I don't see too much of shaking that up. I mean, talk about throwing a QB into the open market that everyone's going to jump on. I mean, if you try to move Lamar Jackson, that's silly, because the Ravens are going to have to get into a market where there's not a lot there. They're not going to like move forward Snoop Huntley and all these type of backups that they've had Lamar Jackson. So they're going to make it work with Doyle, I think, in this offense. They want a little bit more dynamic elements, right? I mean, Todd Monken had a strong year with Jackson, but you wonder how much is that tied to Jackson, his evolution as a pocket passer and what he was able to overcome, maybe in the limitations of that offense by his arm and downfield decision-making. Now, Doyle has to tap into that a little bit better, make this offense more dynamic, make it a little bit more regular, if for lack of a better word. It's like, don't try to force tight ends, have three legitimate wide receivers and go in that direction, right? Isaiah Likely is a free agent, so you can move on from him easily. Reboot there. Mark Andrews is getting older. Get some guys that can help Zay Flowers. I mean, Rashad Bateman, I guess, is okay, but maybe be aggressive and go get that true number one receiver, where Flowers is a guy that you can put on the outside, Bateman as a big slot, and go from there. So maybe you'll see a little bit more traditional passing game to help Jackson here. And really, I don't think they'll curb his running too much. They shouldn't. That's a big element of his game. But I think the passing elements will be a lot more dynamic, a little bit more streamlined as we've seen it on other teams.
Yeah, it's a total wild card, right? I mean, he has learned under some really impressive play callers, and Sean Payton for a long time, and then now with Ben Johnson. So if he can take what they taught them and bring it to the Ravens, I think it'll be a great hire by them. I think they've done a good job this offseason changing up their coaching staff and giving them a lot of hope for the future. Very different than their division rival, the Steelers, who are hiring many uninspiring additions there to the coaching staff. Now let's talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to hop into our passing props for Super Bowl 60. Tell you what we think Maye and Darnold will do in the big game. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And this week, Prize Picks has a special max discount for the big game live in the app right now. Drake Maye just needs one passing yard for the max discount to win. Just add another player to your lineup, and if your pick hits, you will cash in. Prize Picks is a super simple to use and it takes no time to get started. The whole format is clean, pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and it makes watching games even more fun because every drive and every stat matters. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. This episode is also brought to you by Drip Drop. Kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, focus, and mood all level up. But let's be real, plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clear, focus, better energy, elevated mood, even that fresh skin glow. I've been using Drip Drop as part of my daily routine, and it's honestly a game changer, not just for workouts, but every single day. It's a science-backed formula trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro teams because it rehydrates you faster and more effectively than water alone. And their flexible subscription options are great, so you never get stuck without it, whether you're hitting the gym, juggling work, or staying consistent with your goals. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stop up now, dripdrop.com, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Let's get into some Super Bowl passing player props. Before we do that, I want to remind everyone to sign up for the Everydayer Club. It takes no time to sign up. Just go to lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com. It's $5 a month or $50 a year. You get all of our episodes Monday through Friday with no interruptions, no ads. You also get access to the Discord so you can talk to us all year long, and it's just another resource to win your fantasy football leagues and let us help you and just support the podcast. So again, that's lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com, or you just click the link in the show notes to learn more. Let's start with the passing attempts over under on FanDuel. Right now they have Drake Maye at 30.5 passing attempts and Sam Darnold at 29.5. What are your feelings on both of these bets for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, they're kind of right there. The numbers are very similar here. Just one pass attempt goes in the other direction. Now, looking at this is a pretty good number in terms of it's fair, right? I mean, this is kind of the cutoff point. I mean, it's about 50-50 split on when these quarterbacks have hit these particular numbers throughout the season and in the playoffs. We know Sam Darnold has not thrown the ball a lot in the playoffs, and Drake Maye has struggled a little bit, right, with the completion percentage. He was off the charts good, more than 70%, really high clip, record clip during the regular season. So you got to figure, okay, let's start from there. So Drake Maye has to be rather efficient. He doesn't need as many completions to get it done, so that means he doesn't need as many attempts, right, to relate to that. So when we look at that, I look at 30.5. I think if I had to go a lean there, and because my lean is the Patriots winning this game, I would say I would go a little bit under for Drake Maye. So just a little bit, 30.5. I see that 3-0 number and say, look, this team could have a little bit of success moving in different ways. Their defense has played well. This could be a defensive struggle. And if that's the case, and they run the ball a little bit more, and Maye's completion percentage, so if he has, let's say he goes 30 attempts this game, you'd expect him to have more than 21 completions. So I don't think he needs that many overall completions to get it done. So, like, I think 19, 20, somewhere there seems more reasonable here in this type of defensive matchup. So for that one, I'm going a bit under. For Sam Darnold, look, the number is high. If it was a little bit lower, I would definitely hit the over on there. But look, Darnold, if they win the game, you're pretty safe because we know he doesn't throw the ball a lot when they win. They run, they play defense. His attempts could even fall below 20 in this game, right? If that happens. Now, if they lose the game, I think a lot of it is going to be because their running game gets stopped. And even on a big high volume day for Darnold, that's pushing the upper limit of 29.5. So right now I'm leaning under on both of these. Here, if I had to go over, just because if, say, one team might blow out the other, I think it would be, I'd probably think it's the Patriots over the Seahawks in terms of blowing out. In terms of the numbers we've seen, they're the team that's capable of pulling away with their offense and defense. Therefore, I would like Sam Darnold over that 29.5. But right now I'm leaning under on both of these numbers.
Yeah, I think I like the Maye under for passing attempts at 30.5. I think it'll be over for 30.5. He's averaging just 28.5 on the year. But the Seahawks have allowed 35 passing attempts per game to opponents this year, 6th most in the NFL. They allowed 31 in the divisional round against the 49ers, 35 in the NFC Championship. I just don't think they have the personnel to be able to run on the Seahawks either. So I'm going to go slightly over on the pass attempts. I think it'd be at like 32. However, I think his completion percentage will be pretty bad. The 3 playoff games, all under sub 60 completion percentage. I know you said he was great in the regular season. He was. He led the NFL. But it's been worse against these really tough defenses in these big playoff games. He's had just 17, 16, and 10 passing completions in those 3 in those 3 playoff games. And the Seahawks have allowed just above that per game at 20.5 completions per game. So I'm going to take Maye's under in the passing completions, over in passing attempts, because I think he'll be inefficient. With Darnold, I think it's a really close call, but they're low enough that I'm willing to take the over in both. Quarterbacks against the Patriots in the playoffs so far, 19, 20, 17 completions against them. That was Herbert, Stroud, and Nix. I think Darnold can get that 20. I think he'll be actually really efficient in this game, unlike Maye. Now let's go to the passing yards, the over under. We have Maye at 220.5 and Darnold at 228.5. If you had to take one of these, which one do you prefer?
Yeah, I think I'm going definitely with the Drake Maye side because they have a little bit more downfield ability. And we've seen the breakdowns for the Seahawks in their coverage, right? Reek Willen, notably. Like, he is a big play guy, but he gambles, and the Patriots are going to exploit that when they see it and have a chance to make a big play. And look, for me, I think the guy that would probably be more efficient overall in this game with his volume would be Drake Maye. So I think I would like the completions being higher than his attempts, and then his yards per attempt also being higher than Sam Darnold. So I think all that points to me 220.5. And the Patriots have been really stingy, by the way, in giving up passing yards all season long. So that number is significantly higher with Sam Darnold at 228.5 than it is for Maye in relation to what the Seahawks give up here. So I do like Maye to be more efficient. I just expect him to play well. I know I've said that throughout the playoffs, but they've also needed to have him do a lot, right? We had the blizzard. Jared Stidham wasn't putting up a lot of points. You had the issues with CJ Stroud melting down and just not having enough to duel him. Then Justin Herbert didn't push even to the 20-point mark either. So there was no reason for Drake Maye to keep matriculating, but we know the Seahawks can provide some of that here resistance. So I think Drake Maye is going to have a big game for them to win. And if I like the Patriots, I got to go in that direction a little bit. So I don't like those extra 8 yards for Sam Darnold. It might not seem like a lot, but I do like Drake Maye being the more capable downfield passer and hit his number a lot easier than Darnold can.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots have allowed fewer than 200 passing yards in 9 of their last 10 games. The only time they allowed more than that was 212 against the Texans in the divisional round, and that's because the Texans threw the ball 47 times in that game, and they still could only get 212 passing yards against the Patriots. And again, Darnold needs 228.5, so I would take the under on him. Maye, I think I'm just staying away from this. Could he hit the over? Sure, but the Seahawks have allowed fewer than 170 passing yards in 6 of their last 8 games. Only 2 games that they did allow over 200. It was or over 170, I should say. It was against the Rams in both of those games at Stafford. Now, Stafford destroyed that number with 457 and 374. So there is a possibility Maye could put up a huge game, especially if they're down. It's just not one I really want to go with. What I would rather do is they have a bet on there that says who will have the most pass yards, Darnold or Maye. And Maye actually has the odds to pay out more at plus 100 with Darnold at minus 130. I'd rather take Maye to have more yards, right? Because I think Darnold could have like around 180 and Maye could have around 210. But I wouldn't want to take either of the overs of the actual line. I just prefer the Maye over Darnold for the passing yards in the game.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense for many reasons we've just outlined. I mean, just what the teams give up, the efficiency of Maye overall as a quarterback who had a career second season, and he's just a little bit more trustworthy. He's going to be the MVP runner-up here, and Sam Darnold has had some meltdowns with turnovers, and the turnovers can also do two things, right? They'll limit how much passing yards Sam Darnold's going to get. They could also boost what Drake Maye is going to get. And leading from that is the touchdowns, right? We're at 1.5. That's usually the number. Are they going to get to 2 multiple touchdowns in this one? You have Drake Maye. 1.5 is actually plus 130. So you could get a nice payday there. But I think I'm staying away, from the touchdowns in the passing side of this game because they're just so risky because this team – both of them, I would say, the Patriots can run the ball easily. They could have a big game from Drake Maye and still get pay dirt from Ramondre Stevenson or Travion Henderson. Or the other thing you could get is a Drake Maye rushing touchdown, and that would also take away from his passing total as well. So I'm a little bit worried about those elements. With the Seahawks, we know how much they like to use their backs at the goal line here. There's going to have to be a play-action touchdown. Jackson Smith-Njigba, highly prolific guy, but not always a touchdown guy either, right? I mean, it's going to have to be the tight end or something of that nature. And the Seahawks have proved that they are willing to run the ball inside the 5, and then you can have defensive guys score. And then the other factor, of course, is the red zone stalling. You could have some field goals here between Jason Myers and Andy Borregales that stall these drives like inside the 20 easily for both teams. So I'm going to stay away from this totally. I can't feel good about going 1 or 2 good enough to where I want to invest in this prop at all.
Yeah, I think they could both throw 1. It's going to be hard for either to get to 2. The last 4 games for Maye, it's been 1 touchdown, 3 and 0 for passing. The Seahawks have allowed just 1 quarterback to have multiple passing touchdowns in a game since week 12 over the last 9 games. And that was Matthew Stafford in both of those games. And then with Darnold, I mean, he hit 3 touchdowns last week, but it's been lower for him lately. He's had multiple passing touchdowns in just 9 of 19 games played this year. And the Patriots over the last 10 games, there's only been 1 game they allowed multiple passing touchdowns. That was week 15 against Josh Allen. The rest were 1 or 0. So those are going to be hard to do. Let's take a quick break. We'll finish up some of these other player passing props, including, will either of these guys throw an interception in the Super Bowl?
This episode, Locked On Fantasy Football, is brought to you by Quo. And if you're not familiar with Quo, you should be, because it's going to help you here in the new year with new systems that are coming to your business. This is a time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled QUO. That's QUO, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with your customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. It works right from your phone or computer, so you can even keep your existing number. Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise, Quo's the number 1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this year where no opportunity, no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNFL. It's quo.com/LockedOnNFL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. This episode, Locked On Fantasy Football, is also brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy in the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part has not always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. Pulling up the Game Time app, you can pick an upcoming NBA game. We got the Hornets here in town, and I can get my tickets locked in within minutes. It's great to see the view from the seat before buying, and that made the decision so much easier to pull the trigger and get my tickets. Zone deals are also something you can look for on Game Time. Choose a section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save. You can always find great last-minute options, too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. That's only on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's Locked On, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. All right, Michelle, it is time to continue and close the show looking at more props and things related to Sam Darnold. Now, let's start with the big play ability of these guys, right? So I think Drake Maye is going to have to be patient to win this game, but I did mention that the Seahawks sometimes have coverage breakdowns when Tariq Woolen or Josh Jobe also is on the field. They can get burned. So 33.5 is the over-under longest pass for Drake Maye. It's 35.5 for Sam Darnold. We know who that's tied to. Jackson Smith-Njigba making a big play in the middle of the field. So where are you going if you're going with somebody hitting on that long pass?
Yeah, I think I like the Darnold one more. Seattle is capable of allowing a big pass, but again, they've allowed a 34-yard completion in just 2 of their last 10 games, both of them coming from Stafford. So it's really only Stafford that's been able to beat this defense. Maye had one pass of over, of a long of 34 yards in this playoff at 48 yards. And the wild card round, only a 32 and 31 yarder longest in the other 2 playoff games. Well, Darnold has hit a 51-yarder in the NFC Championship against the Rams, at least 36-yard pass completion in 12 of 19 games. And the Patriots did allow a 42-yard completion against the Texans in the divisional round and a 52-yarder against the Broncos in the AFC Championship. So I'd go with Darnold's 35.5 if I'm going to go with one of these.
Yeah, I think that's a good call for sure. I mean, I just don't know about Drake Maye being able to stretch the field. I mean, it's going to take a lapse, and we can't guarantee that lapse. Well, we know where Sam Darnold is going to look in the middle of the field. Jackson Smith-Njigba often will eat up those chunks, right? Get downfield and make a play, and then you're set, and you also have some speed there with Rashid Shaheed or somebody else to make a big play to set up Darnold there. So I'm going to say Darnold's going to have more opportunity to stretch the field than Maye will have on the other way around. Now, interceptions. Now, if we're looking at the regular season, this one should be a no-brainer, right? But we do have to consider the playoffs where Drake Maye has actually had issues fumbling a little bit more. He's had some interceptions as well. So we already said that we like Drake Maye to have the more passing yards. Look, I don't know if I can not take a Sam Darnold yes on the interceptions in this one. The Patriots have been forcing a lot of turnovers against C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, Jared Stidham. They've been able to pick off or 2 of those guys and really cause some problems for Herbert as well. So I'm going to say yes for Sam Darnold and maybe no for Drake Maye, and maybe combine those in a little bit of a parlay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think Maye is a 50-50 split here. The Seahawks have had an interception in 3 of the last 4 games. Maye has thrown an interception in 2 of the 3 playoff games, but Darnold feels really good to say yes. He's gone 3 straight games without throwing an interception. I do think that streak will end. It's hard for any quarterback to go 4 straight games, let alone Darnold, who led the league in giveaways in the regular season. Patriots intercepted C.J. Stroud 4 times. They got an interception against Bo Nix last week. They have at least 1 interception 4 of their last 5 games. So I think they will get that done. That will be it for today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football. We will be back tomorrow to discuss the rushing player props for Super Bowl 60. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Fantasy Football so you get all the latest episodes, and then sign up for the Everydayer Club. If you never miss an episode, it's perfect for you. You get every episode ad-free, members only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to join the club. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.